styles, everyday finds, one place. Welcome to Shack Shop, your go-to online store for women's fashion and must-have essentials. From trendy outfits to lifestyle items you didn't know you needed, it's all here. Easy shopping, great prices, new arrivals dropping often. Shop smarter. Shop Shack Shop. Visit us online today.
Don Lemon draws fire after on-camera remarks reveal advance awareness of anti-ICE protest that disrupted Minnesota church. Former CNN anchor Don Lemon is facing growing criticism after video footage surfaced in which he appeared to acknowledge prior awareness of a coordinated anti-immigration and customs enforcement protest that later interrupted a Sunday church service in St. Paul, Minnesota. The controversy has ignited a broader debate over journalistic ethics, activist proximity, and the blurred line between reporting on political movements and participating in them. The incident unfolded during a live broadcast Lemon conducted from the Twin Cities area amid heightened immigration enforcement tensions nationwide. What initially appeared to be a field report quickly became the focal point of controversy when Lemon described his proximity to protest organizers and characterized the action as a planned operation, remarks that critics say contradict his later insistence that he had no advance knowledge of where demonstrators were headed. Standing in a snow-covered parking lot, microphone in hand and branded with his own logo, Lemon addressed his audience as activists gathered nearby. The tone of the livestream suggested not merely observation, but preparation. Lemon described the demonstrators as part of a coordinated resistance movement and openly stated that he had been traveling with them prior to the protest. "These are resistance protesters," Lemon said during the broadcast. He explained that the group was preparing for what he described as a surprise action and referred to the event as Operation Pull-Up. While Lemon told viewers he could not disclose the specific target of the action, he nonetheless emphasized that the demonstrators were deliberately planning to confront individuals or institutions they believed were linked to immigration enforcement. The framing of the livestream immediately raised questions. Was Lemon simply documenting events as a journalist, or was he embedded deeply enough to possess foreknowledge that would normally remain off-limits to reporters? During the broadcast, Lemon also mentioned the name of a prominent Minneapolis area activist who has been involved in multiple protest actions since the police killing of George Floyd and other high-profile incidents in Minnesota. Lemon described the activist as someone experienced in organizing confrontational demonstrations that rely on surprise and public pressure. By naming a specific organizer and outlining the group's tactics, Lemon appeared to signal familiarity with the structure and strategy of the protest, another detail critics later pointed to as evidence that he knew more than he initially claimed. At one point, Lemon explained that the group's actions were designed to catch their targets off guard and force accountability in public settings. As the livestream continued, Lemon commented on the symbolism used by the demonstrators, including the presence of an American flag. He expressed visible surprise, suggesting that the flag is often associated with conservative or pro-Trump movements. His remark that the flag appeared MAGA-coded sparked a separate wave of criticism online, with some accusing Lemon of politicizing a national symbol, and others arguing that his reaction revealed assumptions about who is allowed to display patriotic imagery. Not long after Lemon's livestream comments, dozens of demonstrators entered City's Church in St. Paul during a Sunday morning service. Video from inside the church shows protesters chanting slogans demanding ICE leave the community, effectively halting the service and drawing visible reactions from congregants. Church members later stated that the interruption came without warning and disrupted a prayer gathering. Some congregants were reportedly distressed by the sudden takeover of a religious space, while others attempted to engage the protesters verbally. The protest was reportedly motivated by claims that the church's pastor or individuals associated with the church had ties to immigration enforcement agencies, claims that church representatives disputed. Once footage of both Lemon's livestream and the church disruption began circulating, criticism erupted across social media and political commentary platforms. Detractors accused Lemon of acting less like an independent journalist and more like a participant or facilitator. Some commentators highlighted what they described as inconsistencies between Lemon's initial livestream remarks and his later explanations. In particular, they focused on his use of words such as reconnaissance and operation, arguing that such language implies planning and foreknowledge rather than passive observation. Supporters counted that immersive reporting has long been part of journalism, particularly in coverage of protests, labor movements, and civil rights demonstrations. The controversy intensified when Harmeet Dillon, the U.S. Department of Justice's Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, publicly addressed the situation. In a statement posted online, Dillon said Lemon was on notice, a phrase that drew widespread attention and speculation.
While Dillon did not outline specific legal consequences, her statement was interpreted by critics as a warning that Lemon's actions could be scrutinized for potential ethical or legal concerns. The remark elevated the incident from a media ethics debate to a national political controversy. Following the backlash, Lemon released additional statements attempting to clarify his role. He rejected accusations that he was affiliated with the activist organization, or that he knowingly participated in planning the church disruption. "I had no affiliations with that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them." Lemon emphasized that his purpose was to document protests as they unfolded, and that his reporting continued inside the church once the demonstration began. "Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism," he said, explaining that he spoke with the pastor, church members, and protesters in an effort to present multiple perspectives. However, critics argued that these explanations conflicted with his earlier on-camera remarks about conducting reconnaissance and following a pre-planned operation. At the center of the controversy is a long-standing question in media ethics: how close is too close? Journalists have historically embedded with military units, protest movements, and political campaigns to gain insight and provide first-hand accounts. Yet such proximity often raises questions about objectivity, independence, and the potential to influence events simply by being present.
Media analysts note that transparency is key, but argue that transparency alone does not resolve ethical dilemmas if a reporter's presence enables or legitimizes disruptive actions. In Lemon's case, critics argue that accompanying activists who are planning a surprise disruption of a religious service crosses a line, regardless of intent. Supporters maintain that Lemon did not organize the protest, did not chant slogans, and did not physically disrupt the service, actions they say distinguish reporting from participation. The incident comes at a time when Lemon has been redefining his public role following his departure from CNN. No longer bound by traditional network standards, Lemon has embraced independent media platforms that offer greater editorial freedom, but also fewer institutional guardrails. Some observers argue that this freedom increases the responsibility on individual journalists to maintain ethical clarity, particularly in polarized political environments. Others see the backlash as politically motivated, accusing critics of weaponizing journalistic standards selectively based on ideological disagreement. As of publication, City's Church has declined to issue further public statements beyond initial comments disputing claims of ICE affiliation. Organizers of the protest have also largely refrained from speaking publicly about coordination with Lemon. Lemon has not indicated whether he plans to release additional footage or documentation clarifying the timeline of events. Beyond Lemon himself, the controversy reflects a broader reckoning with modern media. As journalists increasingly operate on personal platforms and social media, distinctions between reporter, commentator, and activist have become increasingly blurred. Critics warn that this erosion of boundaries risks undermining public trust, while defenders argue that traditional notions of objectivity are outdated and fail to capture the realities of modern reporting. Whether Lemon's actions will have lasting professional consequences remains unclear. What is certain is that the incident has reignited debate over the responsibilities of journalists in an era of activism-driven news coverage.